I'm Non-Zero Sum James, your companion on this exploration of win-win games. Why is moral licensing negative sum? Moral licensing Part 2. In Part 1, we delved into the human tendency to morally license negative behaviour, rationalised either by prior good actions or by perceiving oneself as morally superior to others. The latter scenario, which we term negative moral licensing, involves using others' perceived misdeeds to excuse our own actual wrongdoings. So, unless our perceptions are perfect, this practice will lead to a negative sum game. Humans possess not only a capacity for moral licensing, but also an intrinsic sense of fairness, albeit imperfectly tuned. The ultimatum game. The ultimatum game is a classic example in game theory. It involves two players. One receives, let's say, $20 and proposes a division of this amount with the second player. If the second player accepts, then the money is divided accordingly. If not, neither player receives anything. A study by Matthew Lieberman and colleagues employed the ultimatum game to explore reactions to fair and unfair monetary offers. Most participants rejected offers they deemed unfair, displaying a potent aversion to perceived injustice and a willingness to forego money to punish such injustice. And brain scans revealed automatic positive reactions to fairness and negative reactions to unfairness, underscoring an innate bias towards equitable treatment. But our sense of fairness is frequently misaligned with reality, primarily due to cognitive biases like the availability heuristic, where we are intimately acquainted with our own good intentions and all the time and effort we've put into something, but have limited experience of the intentions and struggles of others. This is further compounded by a self-serving bias, where we prioritize our own interests and virtues over those of others. The implications of this miscalibrated fairness are profound and multi-layered and can lead to a downward spiral. Humans naturally gravitate towards retributive justice, and individuals often overestimate their own contributions and virtues, and correspondingly they are likely to underestimate others' contributions and virtues. This underestimation of the others leads to harsher interpretations of the other's actions or words, magnifying minor differences in opinion into malicious attacks. Acting on a perceived sense of fairness, people justify negative behaviour equivalent to the skewed perception of the other's actions, leading to an overreaction in self-justified behaviour. When both parties in a conflict harbour these misconceptions, perceived aggression leads to actual aggression, resulting in a negative feedback loop. But it gets even worse. The combination of a desire to penalise perceived unfairness, even at a personal cost, and a miscalibrated sense of fairness is a precarious mix, because it turns out that seeking retribution often intensifies anger rather than alleviating it. We see this in online conflicts where people vent by adding rhetorical barbs, which only serve to drive the argument to become more virulent. What's the solution then? The study found that verbally acknowledging the contribution or value of other people lowered bias. Humanizing the other, particularly in online disputes, and showing your humanity through humor, personal reflections, or anecdotes accesses the balancing effects of more pro-social instincts. Steel manning. The opposite of straw manning, the misrepresentation of your opponent's argument in order to defeat it. Steel manning an opponent's argument is to express it in the strongest form possible, potentially even better than they have. This will often reveal to you the underlying values that are driving your opponent's opinion, and you might find those are shared values that you can refer to, which might make you update your own opinions or make you better able to argue your point convincingly. All the while, you are reinforcing that you are really hearing the other person. It's also helpful to take the most charitable reading you can of your opponent's intentions and motivations, given our instinctive tendency to do the opposite. Make it automatic. As mentioned in Part 1, in the case of positive moral licensing, if you can make your good actions automatic, the less you should be affected by the subconscious awareness of those actions, and therefore avoid falling into the trap of licensing bad behaviour. The value of absolute principles. Experiments with moral licensing have found that people who overcame moral licensing often did so because they had pre-made their decisions by having a principle of, for instance, I always give money to homeless people, or I never steal, or I always pick up rubbish when I see it. These absolutes can become habits that override moments of relative weakness. So, by recognizing the biases in your own behavior and those of others, we have the opportunity to reshape our interactions into positive, constructive experiences. It's a challenging yet rewarding path, one that requires empathy, understanding, and a commitment to shared values. And as someone who has, at times, argued with people who are wrong on the internet, I can say I've tried these approaches, and they do work.